Okay, straight into it. I've been on holiday for a week. So I've been in Hamilton Island. Things have been going very, very, very slow in my brain for the last 7 days. So this is a turquoise.
I know, this is a very different
Very different outfit.
I'm a bit scared.
So this is a bit straight for me right now. So hopefully my brain will catch up to our so that's I feel like I was supposed to say more things, but that's enough. I think that's a good start. So first little thing we're going to do is just talk a little bit about what is loyalty, right? Just for some context for discussion. I think it's important to at least know what the heck we're the topic is, what we're going on with. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to stole a couple of slides. So I want to make sure that we give some credit to Adam Posner down at the bottom. You guys have a copy of the slides too. Adam is a bit of a loyalty guru in Australia, right? And he's done a report called For Love or Money. He has an entire company based around loyalty. So I don't want to say we're stealing his ideas, but we're showcasing his ideas, right? Because it gives us a good, I guess, a good little bit of context. He quite succinctly, if you like, puts together some thoughts around what loyalty is about and what it could be. So what he talks about is when you say, well, what is loyalty? What does it mean? Because everybody talks about loyalty, but there's a lot of conversation around what does loyalty mean in my business, right? Compared to another business, how does it all compare? So he says there's three main things, right? So first one is behaviors. Loyalty is behavior. The second one is belief. And the other one is belonging. And if you try and think about those, if you think about behavior, so in the world of behavior, that's when people start to think about loyalty. So I should be pretty clear. We're talking about consumers, right? So we're using the word consumers. So if you look at a consumer and you think about behaviorally what is loyalty, that's where you have a consumer who's probably involved with your brand using things like maybe buy one, get one free, or coupons, or that sort of transactional behavior where they go like, oh yeah, I'm loyal to that company because I go there all the time. And I tried to think about what was a good example of that in our world, right, in hospitality. And I think it's probably McDonald's. It probably was mine. I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah.
I always look at Sarah when I ask these questions because she's sort of my go-to loyalty person. So I'd say McDonald's is a pretty good example, right? So you think about that. The second sort of key, if you like, is he calls it belief. And belief is when somebody really feels strongly about your business or your brand. Right? And again, in my world, I always try to think, well, what does that mean? How do I model that, or how do I relate that to my business? And I think the ones that I came up with, I did a little bit of thinking on this. I thought probably some car brands like Subaru or Porsche. Those are ones that people, and in the past I would have said Tesla, but as a Tesla owner, I think that's probably a little bit on the nose right now. But if you think about those car brands, people, especially Subaru, if you've ever met a Subaru person and not walked away thinking, maybe I should buy a Subaru. I don't know, maybe they're better than I thought. Because they become very very heartfelt about the brand. And I think in our businesses, that the couple that I thought of in our world, I actually thought of, so again, not to offend anybody who's here as a different brand, but I thought of the Euro Shop, because if you're from Queensland, it's amazing how many people will tell me that I should eat something at the Euro Shop, right? And they do make a latte food, but it's an interesting sort of perception locally about it. And the other one I thought maybe El Jannah, because if you're in Sydney, there are people who will evangelize about El Jannah. So, oh yeah, haven't you eaten El Jannah? You have to try it, especially if you're not from the West. And I know they've expanded a lot, right? So now it's becoming more common. But I know, especially in the early days, like, I don't know how long, they've been around a long time, but let's say 10 years ago, if you talked about El Jannah, it was like a well-kept secret in the West that, you'd be tempted to go out and try it out and stuff. So I think those are the sorts of brands that have this thing around belief, right? Around that brand is special to me and I want to share it with you. Yeah, if I hit that one? That was okay?
Yeah.
And then the third one is belonging. Now, belonging is an interesting one, right? Because if you think about that is, well, how do I get people to feel like they're almost part of my brand, right? They really belong to, they're in the same club or something. And honestly, the first thing that I thought of with that, because it's a tricky one, is probably, and I know we're in the middle of Sydney, so it's a bit weird, but it's actually the AFL clubs. And I thought if you're from Melbourne or if you follow AFL, they have an interesting concept, which is quite different, very Australian, right? So I'm Canadian originally, so here in Canada, I go and watch or follow an ice hockey team. The Vancouver Canucks might be my team, but it just means that I watch them on TV and I might buy tickets to their games. I'm not part of the club. I like that team. I follow that team. But if I'm like from a Melbourne perspective, if I'm an Essendon member, well, hold on, now I'm a member. That's my team. I watch them run around. Those are my guys, or my girls, or whatever. They're the people that I identify with, and it becomes part of my identity. And if you think about that from a marketing perspective, they've done a ridiculously good job at digging into people's mindsets, right? And I thought the only other two that I could think of around this that were closer to hospitality was probably, it's a very Victorian thing, but actually that's not true. Richie's Supermarkets. So those guys have done a really interesting job of getting their loyalty and tying it into community benefits. So as you buy stuff at their supermarkets, you can direct a little bit of your purchase to your charity of choice. And so they sort of make you feel like you're part of their little world. And the only other one I thought was maybe Zambrero, only because Zambrero is quite big on, buy a meal from us and you're buying a meal for the underprivileged. And they actually keep on their walls, they keep the thing about this is how many meals we've purchased for other people. And again, it's really difficult. So if you think about those as the three chunks of loyalty, right? The three things that you're thinking of as well. Behavior. No, I'm not going to talk too long. Sorry, guys. I'll go a little quicker. So talk about behavior, talk about belief, and this belonging, right? And how do I mix those together and sort of get what makes sense out of those three?
Great.
That's probably challenge number one. I think I've only got two. I got two more slides for those. The second bit that Adam talks about is what is loyalty. And I thought this was also probably the other part that's really useful, right? If you think about when you're building this, whatever your concept of loyalty is, and you're trying to figure out how do I identify or latch onto these consumers. He measures three things, which I thought was really interesting. And the question for this thing, he calls it an index that he builds, but what he actually says is, what is most important to you as a consumer? Right? So it doesn't mean, I think every consumer would find all three of these things important. But his three concepts are being simple, being personal, or being valuable. Right? And he asked in this pretty big survey that he's done, he said, so what's the most important single thing? If you had to pick one. So about 70% of people that they surveyed in Australia said, actually value is really important. I really want value. Right? So I want to feel like if I'm going to be bothered participating, I get something back, whatever that is. Now value might be perceived value, it might be going to make you gold or platinum, whatever it is, but I want some value. The second thing which I thought was interesting was that simplicity was about just over 25%. So basically people are saying, I really need to understand how to use this or how to participate. Don't make it too hard. If it's too hard, I'm going to struggle to participate. And I don't know about you, but I've seen this a lot mostly in my partner, where she just goes, I can't be bothered with that. That's not going to happen. If you give her a simple coupon, she'll use it or an offer. But if you get into a lot of kind of points and things, she's not going to use it whatsoever. I always think in these cases it's important for all of us to think you're probably not normal, right? So if you're thinking about how that's going to work, it's always great to bounce that off of normal people who don't care about our jobs, right? Because those people will tell you really, they go, my other half's an osteopath. She goes, I don't care about those things. They're not important to me. So she's great to talk to about them because she doesn't care about them. So it's a nice, sounding board. The third thing is actually making it personal. And interesting, only 7% put that as at the top. The question I would have is, well, is that because we haven't done a good job at setting that up and being really personal, right? Is that why they kind of got, it's probably not the top of my list. So what I'm saying is, have we made it too complicated and maybe not had enough value so they haven't got to the point where they can really go, I just need it to be personalized? So it's an interesting, again, it's just a framework for how we think about all this, right?
Good. No.
I promise I'll leave time for you guys. So I've got two really quick slides. The two quick slides. So this is a bit Redcat-y, right? But I looked at it and I said, well, what is loyalty? When we're talking about loyalty, what does it mean, right? So in our world, especially in hospitality, when you're thinking about loyalty, you're probably thinking about things like tiers maybe, right? So bronze, silver, gold, just giving people some level of recognition. Often it's just gift cards. Like, so especially in the more restaurants you could we've talked to lots and lots of restaurants, have lots of restaurant customers, that to them, loyalty is literally just gift cards. That's because they don't want to, they're not going to go to their customers and try and give them points or something. They just say, oh, well, we just sell them gift cards and then they come back. It's lovely, right? So loyalty can be as simple as you want it to be, or quite complex. It just depends what you're trying to build and what you're trying to do. It can incorporate things like coupons and offers, earning and burning points, different levels of recognition, maybe some cash back. Money can't buy point redemptions is an interesting one. So things like with Nando's, you can earn a bunch of points and then go onto a special website and get like a baseball cap or whatever, right? That you can't pay money for. You have to buy it with points, that sort of stuff. So loyalty is what you define it as and what your consumer sees value in. And that's not an easy question, right? That's actually quite a tricky game to play. And then the other thing I thought was actually useful was just to talk a little bit about the fact that you fundamentally, whatever, in our world especially, whatever you decide loyalty needs to be or what your offer is going to be, you just got to make sure that you can get it to the customer, right? Because what's really frustrating, and my favorite example of this one is I often talk about if you look at in a typical retail world, and I can guarantee all of us have experienced this, you'll buy a gift card, for example, and they'll say, oh, here's your gift card. Listen, you can use it up at the on sale, but you can't use it online. Or you can use it online, but don't take it into the shop. It doesn't work. So if you want to fail quickly, right, make sure that your loyalty doesn't work everywhere. Because it will just frustrate the crap out of people. Go back to simple, a couple pages back. You just got to make it easy to use wherever the consumer wants. And remember, the consumer they don't care about your business anywhere near the way you do, right? So you want them to feel valued and feel recognized and all the good things really easily, regardless of how they're dealing with you. And then the last thing I was going to say before I handed the mic over, I was just going to say in terms of experiences and what we've learned from around the world and from others, right? Two quick examples that I thought were really intriguing. So we've done a lot of work in the UK in the last couple of years, and there's probably two things that I've seen that are a little different that have been valuable learnings still. One was the guys at, I don't know if you guys know Pret et Manger, right? So usually just called Pret. So Pret et Manger just means ready to eat, right, in English. So, which is an interesting thing to do in the middle of Britain where they don't speak a lot of French. But for whatever reason, Pret et Manger, right? So Pret is a grab-and-go style hospitality venue. And what they've done, or what they've experimented with probably over the last year and a half or so, is they did a subscription model, right? And so what would happen? So these are busy shops to give you some idea. In the middle of London, so London, pretty good sized city, but I think there are 300? I think there's 300 Prets in London. So if you stand and you can see a Pret, it's unlikely that you can't spin around and see a second Pret. So you can never use Pret to give directions to anybody. Like you can't say, I'll meet you with the Pret because they'll be at the wrong Pret. Like they're freaking everywhere, right? And these guys decided that it would be very clever or something interesting to do a subscription model. So what you do is you buy this subscription, this membership. You pay. They changed it a bunch of times over the year and a half as they're playing with it. But you basically pay a flat fee, and for that flat fee, a few pounds, you could go and get a certain number of coffees at no cost every day, right? Now, just again, because we're in Australia, it's really shit coffee, right? So just to be really clear, it's not really a great reward, but you're in England, everybody feels like it's pretty good coffee, let's do it. So you go in, and you think, I'm going to get a coffee at Pret because there's 300 of them, they're all around me, this is going to be great. But what you find, like once they did this and started rolling it out, what you find is that now all of us, as non-subscription people, can't buy coffee at Pret because every queue is full of people getting free coffee. So I'm not even going to bother going now because I don't subscribe. I can't be bothered waiting through the queue to get to the front to order my coffee because it's too busy, and therefore I'm not going to buy any food here either. So they found that it was like a win-lose sort of problem, right? Where they were getting a lot of people coming in and getting their kind of free coffee that they paid for, but struggling a lot to sell food or to have other people go in because it discouraged normal people from walking in off the street. So anyway, really interesting learnings, right? Like, so it's pros and cons. The other one that I thought was interesting, and I gotta say, we had lots of customers who said, oh, we love this idea of subscriptions, but as everybody watched what was happening at Pred, there's been a lot of people around the entire world who've gone, maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe there's a way to, some other way of doing this. The other one that's interesting that you see in the UK a lot is there's two big coffee groups, Costa and I can't think of the other one, but both of them are remarkably similar, right, in terms of the quality of the coffee and what you're going to get. One of them actually implemented a card-based loyalty solution, and what's been really interesting to look at from the outside, what it means is that you go into your app with them, you connect your credit card, right? And so from that point forward, whenever you go in and just tap and pay for your coffee, it automatically credits you like a stamp card. It automatically credits that you've been there. And then one day you'll go in and go to pay and they'll say, oh, sorry, this one's free. So it's kind of like automated loyalty from their perspective, which is quite cool. So and consumers love it, right? Consumers love it. They go, it's so good, it's easy, I don't have to worry about it. There's some interesting discussions to have as to whether whether the coffee company gets value out of that, right? Are you now hooking those people to your loyalty, so that's great? Or are you not interacting with them very much because you never talk to them about it and they just happen to walk away? So they don't read emails, they're hard to communicate with, right? But really interesting to see, and having a multi-hundred location shop that's kind of doing that en masse. It's been pretty good. Okay, that's all I was going to say. Just those 2 minutes. Just to be fair, nobody told me how many minutes I had. And unfortunately, I'm very good at using a lot of minutes if I don't have a set. So from that, I think I'm going to introduce you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you.
So Sarah's going to come up and walk through.
Yes, that's you. Thank you for representing Impact Data today, for those of you who don't know me, and thanks to our hosts, Tyro, for letting me here, and of course Redcat for inviting me. We work really closely with Redcat in Australia and the UK, and we're really excited about helping Redcat customers leverage their loyalty program. That's fundamentally what we're here to do. As a customer communications platform, we want to take your loyalty program outside of your premises and actually bring it to life and engage your customer in a way that when they walk back in the door, they're educated where they're at on their loyalty journey. They come ready to participate, just as Lauren sort of mentioned. If you're a bit passive about communications, everything has to happen at your operations level. So really what we're trying to help brands understand is that communications engagement is how you take the customers from acquisition to advocacy. And I think what Lawrence was sort of talking about earlier was that you can actually create advocates, and there's a few brands in here today, Yochi and Oaktree, who absolutely have advocates, and those people help engage your business. But are they helping engage others in your loyalty program? And that's, probably the holy grail of where we want to see QSR, fast food, hospitality loyalty go to. Impact Data has been around for about 25 years, and we work across all hospitality categories. And we see some really strong advocates, and Lawrence mentioned, particularly in the sporting and golf clubs. So I'm absolute rival of Lawrence's at my club, Collingwood. Meeting them on Friday, those of you who weren't paying attention on Anzac Day.
Nobody here cares about football.
But the reality is that tribal nature of what they have created is something that hospitality brands are trying to tap into. And I think there are, examples of how it can happen. So what we do is we connect just basically your Redcat data, all of your Redcat customer data, and get you an ROI in your loyalty program. If you don't have a loyalty program in your business, do not enter that, strategy lightly. It touches every single part of your business. It's not a marketing function, it's not an IT function, it's not an operations function or a finance function. It's an everybody always on function. And if your business is not structured to understand that, you're never going to realise the full potential of your loyalty program. So that's some really important things to think about. And the boys here, we did this when we first started talking about leveraging the Oakberry loyalty program. We're all in the room, all of the teams, to actually understand how it's going to impact each team. And that's really important. You really need to think about that. Omnichannel loyalty is the holy grail, and Redcat's probably our only partner that we're able to do that, because there are lots of examples that we see in other markets where I can't identify myself on a kiosk, or I can't identify myself on an app. My sign-up process is different depending on how I interacted with the brand. So that is really important. The consumer does not care about your brand unless they're at their advocate scale, right? And there's a handful of them. So make it easy, take all of the friction out of your loyalty sign-up at every stage. And just actually quoting something from Adam Posner that Marcus mentioned earlier, the most important aspect of your loyalty program is redemption. Because if they're not redeeming, they're not retained customers. They're not actually engaging. So what are you doing to ensure that redemption is regular and celebrated? So looking across the QSR market that we work with, redemption rates are under 10%. That has lots of upside, so we'll call it a challenge, right? We'll call it an opportunity. But the reality is, if your customers are not redeeming, probably they don't know how, they don't know where they're at on their customer journey. Your tech isn't making that easy, i.e. telling your staff that Sarah's got enough points to get her free coffee. All of these things have to work in conjunction. Okay, what we do, you can see it up here, it's technical. We take Redcat data, we turn it into actionable insights, we trigger some messages, we get them to come back, right? It is a bit of science because there is an AI engine that decides when a customer needs the communication, and we trigger those based on your strategic objectives. The most important thing here, though, from our relationship with Redcat, is we're learning every single day about how to make loyalty better together. And so what we're doing with that is always bringing new features to the market and to our partnership so that we can look at what's going on in the UK. The UK is a really different market because almost everything is franchised in the UK. There's almost no independent businesses, particularly in London. So we see things at real scale, and they're pretty creative, but they're also not that great at loyalty. Australians are actually really engaged in loyalty programs. If I asked you how many loyalty programs you are members of, most of you would probably be close to 10. Now, active, a lot lower, but you're probably at least enrolled in 10. So one of the things that is really important about your loyalty program is, and Laura's mentioned the personalisation, there's a scale of personalisation when it comes to loyalty. Show me you know me, but don't creep me out. Right? That's really important. And that is particularly true in hospitality, because my behaviour, and it's not so much relevant in the QSR brand, but if your brand, for example, serves alcohol in your locations, probably don't show that I had 2 glasses of Chardonnay at the Arabian Club last night. I need to have that reflected back to me, okay? That's just between me and the barman, right? The other thing is, the reality of my experience last night at the Yarraville Club was that I was at a board meeting and I was doing certain things. If I was to go there with a girlfriend, I'm talking about cocktails. Again, that's just between me and the barman. My behaviour changes depending on the hospitality occasion and whom I'm with. So it's really valuable to know what my customer buys, but it's not necessarily the number one indicator of what I'm going to do in the future. So your loyalty program should be predicated around those assumptions. It should be predicated around the fact that I come, perhaps eating these categories or drinking these categories, and so do I want you to buy more of those? Do I want you to explore deeper into my menu? Do I want to introduce you to some product that I have better margin on? All of those sorts of things, but be careful about showing me you know me too much. But what we can do is when you do send a clever message that's based on my behaviour, we have proven that we can get a 10-fold increase in the likelihood to visit. So the likelihood to visit statistically is about 2% of your database would visit in any 7-day period, if you're lucky. We can increase that tenfold. So finding the time that's going to make my behaviour change, reminding me I'm really close to a reward. Oh, cool. Well, I might even shout Morris a fried chips if he's lucky. Those sorts of things have to be part of your communication strategy with your loyalty. Because if you just leave it on-prem, you're just in the real estate business and you're hoping that people are going to walk past. Yeah? You've invested in a loyalty program to own those eyeballs, to earn the right to market to them and get them to come back in. And your loyalty program, just hot tip guys, it's not about your most frequent customers because they're spending as much as they can with you already. It's actually about the right to market to your infrequents because that's where you'll increase your revenue. And keeping them through the value chain, that's the real value of what your loyalty program can deliver. So where we work and help in partnership with Redcat is program design. And so these are my top tips. What can you tell a consumer in 10 seconds that will get them to sign up to your loyalty program? Naomi up there from Yochi, you've got it nailed. You guys have got it. Free yogurt every 10th visit. That's why coffee cards work well. Now coffee cards work well to acquire, but they don't work well to drive average transaction value necessarily. They need some additional things. So what can you communicate in 10 seconds that hooks me in? And if you don't know, then you're really going to struggle to acquire me. Because that's as much airtime as I can give you. When you launch your program, it is absolutely about the whole of your business. And one of the things that I have seen that one stakeholder group that perhaps gets forgotten a little bit is the franchisors. How are they engaged? Is it in their KPIs? Is it part of their reporting? And Anthony can talk to this a little bit to help understand how the performance at a particular location is adding value to the business that they've invested in. So that's a really important audience that you need to think about. The other one is also suppliers. Can you get suppliers to stump up for part of your loyalty program? And if they're really embedded in your business and they're part of the way you go to market, can you get them to fund rewards? So, be creative in the way that you think about that. Acquisition, customers to members is an always on. Always on, always on, always on. The flip side of that now in terms of loyalty is, would you like to join our loyalty program? Because. And the because is the key. The other, I won't name the chain that does this, never asks me if I'm a loyalty program, so that's one. And then I've got a local supermarket that asks me every time, are you a member of the loyalty program? And I say, no. And then they just move on. They never ask me to join. Not once. And I'm getting belligerent about it now. It's like been 7 years. I could have had, a case of French champagne in free rewards, but you haven't asked me, so I won't join. And you haven't made it easy for me. So it's are you? Because, you're not, I will actually help you. Moments of magic. Make the moments of magic. The other moment of magic that happens in store is when I redeem. Make me feel like a rock star, not a tightwad. Really, really important. How do you operationalise that in your loyalty program so that you roll out the red carpet when Paola walks in with her 2-for-1 voucher? Because she's chosen to do that. Make her feel valued, not tight. So that's the other thing. Your loyalty program must live at all of your touch points. So Lawrence put up a great slide before about the omni-channel. Loyalty has to be part of those. You might not be accruing, but you might be able to redeem. But just think about the impact that loyalty has at all of the customer touch points. Whether it's asking for feedback, kiosks, all of those sorts of things, wherever. And the biggest one I can suggest is when you look at your sign-up form, check how you ask a customer to opt in for marketing. It's the biggest fail I see in loyalty programs because it says, hey, do you want to sign up for a promotion? So I'm like, no, why would I want to be spammed?
feel that.
Why not engage my, what I feel about your brand? Would you like to be part of our club and get X? You know what I mean? Bring your personality to life, even in your terms and conditions and in your sign-up forms. And then the real value, as I mentioned, about your loyalty program is actually retention. It's getting access to talk to those customers that aren't actually in your top tiers. Do you know if they're trending away, and what are you doing about it? Use tools like us that automate that for you. Don't spend your time trying to figure it out. That's what AI is for. So a couple of things why consumers will respond to your loyalty program. Show me you know me. So one of the things that Garmin do, which is one of our joint clients, is they tell me, and it's a bit hard to see, but in every communication they send, they tell me what my balance is and how many points I've got. And some of our clients will say, you're close to this, how far you are from your next reward. So even if they're sending me a promotion about Mother's Day or something that's not that relevant, it's still about me. So always make your strategy, your communications about me. Honour where you are in the relationship, keep loyalty front and centre, surprise and delight me. Think about that. And then honour the communication that the customer wants to be communicated with.
Great.
So if they respond to SMS, talk to them via mobile. They respond on your app, do that. Okay, over to you, Anthony.
I'm a shareholder of Cali Press, but for the past 25, 30, starting to show my age a little bit, I've been working in QSR. I started with T2 when they were one store. We grew it to 50. I was at Retail Zoo for 7 years during 2 private equity buyouts, and that was Boost, Salsas, before Betty's Burgers got in. And then since then I've been working, I've been at Grill for a couple of years, been at Sense for a couple of years, and done a lot of consulting to various businesses. So I've seen probably every loyalty program or attempted loyalty program in the last 30 years that's been done across QSR. And it's very hard that anybody's ever put their hand up and said, our loyalty program is fantastic and it works. Like, loyalty is complicated. Loyalty is hard. It's difficult. You talk about the big businesses and you talk about, they all talk about, we use Salesforce, we use Braze, and we all use these, we keep adding dollars onto these systems that try to keep telling us what's happening with loyalty and whether we're doing it well and activating and all that sort of stuff. So it becomes, there's no simple solution. So today, representing Cali Press, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an example of what Cali Press do and how we do it, and obviously there's some connections with Redcat and your back data around how we do this. And this is what we do at Cali Press pretty much is, it's a combination of some strategies and ideas, me working with the Cali Press team about what we think we need to do, and talking from a brand which is currently 18 stores. So we're not a 150 store, 200 store chain. We're not Boost, We're not T2 at 70 stores trying to get a loyalty program up. We're looking at 18 stores and wanting to grow and really wanting to engage our customers and create a loyalty program for them. So this is just a bit of an example of how this works. So I think that's the role.
Go on the slide. Yeah. The forward button is the
Forward button.
Sorry, I didn't say that.
I'm going to go down a bit. Sorry. Cali Press obviously 18 locations currently, a couple more, a few more in the next 6 months. Currently, one of the things at Cali Press that we have is that we have 24% of all our transactions are member-based. Okay, so that's a pretty high number. I've never seen anything like that in any QSRs who work with this. Where 1 in 4 of our customers is a member. Right? In the city stores, that's close to almost 1 in 3. Okay. So that's a good data set to be working with initially as well. Irrespective of the fact that we are engaging our members, they are using the app. They are coming in and thinking it's worthy of them to tap because there's something in it for them. Why are they doing that? They're all really good questions about loyalty because that's what you want your customer to do. You want them to be engaged. You want them to utilise. Is it offers? We give them an offer of about $1 for every 15 spent. So it's not it's generous, but it's not ridiculous. It's not a 1 coffee for every 5. And we've just got a small internal marketing team. Well, in fact, there's 1 marketing person, 1 product person, and potentially me, as well as the CEO, whatever. So we work pretty closely. And Kelly, when you talk about loyalty, I often get confused around loyalty because people talk about a lot of stuff. And you can see in the initial slides here, you're talking about brand and brand engagement and wanting people to engage with your brand, or are you talking about revenue, wanting people to come back and spend more money with you? What are you trying to drive here? What's it about? And it can be very confusing because you can be wanting a loyalty program. It's just about we just want to make our customers keep coming back. How do we do that?
Yeah.
If we just give them $1 for every 15, they're just going to keep coming back. Or no, we want to engage them with what we are. What do we feel? Who are we? What's Cali Press? So, you know, when you look at your loyalty objectives, and the ones at Cali Press, pretty simple. Keeping brand front of mind with loyal members. You talk about tribes. You can see there the front of the Cali Press app talks about the Cali tribe. You know, Cali's message is around to lead the healthy lifestyle revolution. Okay. For us, our tribe, we know what our demographic, what most of our demographic is. So we understand that. We try to understand. We don't really know. We're only still growing. It's changing all the time. But we feel like a lot of our customers come to us because we like to be healthy. We promote ourselves as being healthy. Our food's good. We're a health tribe. Okay. And that's sort of something that's really important to us, and that's important for us to keep growing that. Yeah. So loyalty for about that, is it about doing that? Is it about promoting that view? Is it promoting that? Or is it about increasing our customer frequency? You know, do we want our customers to come in more often? Yes, we do. Do we want to grow our active members? Do we want to increase our tribe? Do we want them to be active? Do we want them to be engaged? We've got increased customer frequency twice. The membership, the purchase of membership, like 28% is a pretty high number. But we think it could be a lot higher. You know, the tools we use and get them to use, that's really important. And we want to improve the percentage online. Online, getting more people to order online, whether it's through a membership or just online, it's good for us in our city stores. It means we can reduce the POS requirement. We can get a lot more orders through very quickly. So for us, that's a really important thing. And what are the mechanisms we're trying to do for that? Okay. The way we do it is if we use a combination of systems. Now, I'm just going to talk about each of these systems individually and what they perceive. Why do we use Redcat? The Redcat, Redcat, when you talk about the app, when you talk about the devices, when you talk about wanting your customer to have a really simple way of just activating engagement with the customer, the Redcat app is fantastic. I've worked in a lot of businesses where we've tried to build our own apps and tried to do stuff and make it work and whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, what you want to do is your customer really simply engage, give quota, points, understand that, really, you know, and the fact that Redcat has that as part of its system and been built is really important because it undercomplicates your system. Right? It makes it really simple.
Is that a word?
I know, I'm just like, that's a new word.
Undercomplicate.
That's awesome.
It makes things really simple.
That's word of the day.
Impact data. For us, impact data is a great tool because we can just put impact data on, connect it to our data, and it will just do those things about engaging those customers that we don't really have. The ones that have come in once, haven't come back, it's got a lot of great automation in there where we can make it work. You know, it does what it is. If you've got a new customer that joined and hasn't done stuff, you can set it up, you can set your triggers, it will do that. Plus it's the tool that where we can create our communications and send it out the way we want to send it out. And that's really important for us because once again, undercomplicate. We don't want to be using monkey chip, all those systems that try to send out. You know, I've spent years working with graphic designs teams, product marketing teams, creating different sort of emails and concepts and whatever, but you know, the reality is the impact data system is really easy to use, and for a small business, 18 stores, we haven't got the time or the resources to want to design what we do, okay? And then there's, on top of that, we use BI tool, okay? So Arctic BI tool. I'm wearing another hat here. Arctic BI tool is my BI tool, and I currently provide that to about 20 different Redcat customers to market. And the BI tool just provides that overview. And why do we use a BI tool? It's really about the customer journey for us. If we're wanting to implement systems that we want to engage with loyalty and make sure that the customer is working, or what we're trying to do is working, we need a bit of information to show what's happening. And what a BI tool shows us is that with the combination of Redcat, impact data, and other data, we actually map the whole customer journey. We can show whenever a coupon was sent out, who engaged it, who did it, when they did it, how long did they hold it for, how often did they use it, when did it come back. We can send out promotions and see exactly what's happening. So I'll just give you an example of where our current strategy lives at the moment. Is if I go back, if I go back to our increase in customer frequency, what we do at the moment around loyalty is we've got two key strategies. The one is obviously keeping the brand front of mind. There's an engagement piece, right? We want to make sure that we're constantly engaging with our existing customers, members, because members for at the moment are the only customer we know, okay? Everyone else is walking in. Now, I'm sure Tyro are going to talk about the ability to engage with customers you don't know. But we currently where we're at, obviously, the data we get from Redcat, the membership activation, they're customers we know, so let's talk to them. So we have sort of a multiple strategies running where we want to engage, keeping brand front of mind with our loyal members. So we have using the BI tool, we tier our customers, we look at how often they're visiting, how much they're spending. We put them into a tier, which Redcat can do as well, but we put them into our own tier. We draw that data out, we keep that data as a 3-month mapping of where our customers is. We then engage those individually. And that's using impact data. We create a list of our members and we say, this is our current member who we're classifying as a medium frequency who buys a sandwich every week. Now we're going to target them specifically using that data set we pulled out of BI, put it back into impact data, create the coupon specifically for them, send that out, and then we're going to use the BI ongoing to have a look at what that's done. Did that tip the dial up? Did they come in more often? Did they spend more money? Did they use that coupon? What's happening? And so we're working through a program. There's two tiers of what we do. One is looking at those customers and sending them out information. We're not giving them offers, we're just sending them out, hey, we're healthy, here's what we're doing, here's our new products. Makes you feel engaged as a customer, we want to keep your loyalty, okay? So we're utilising that data to identify what our customers are buying, putting that back into impact data, sending them out more specific targeted programs, just around brand engagement and around making them feel like part of the trial. But the second part we're doing is we're looking at those different tiers and going, right, here you are, for the last 3 months you've been a medium customer, you've come to us 2 times in the last month, we want to get you to come a 3rd time a month. How are we going to do that? It looks like you buy coffee a lot, or it looks like you buy a bowl a lot. We're going to engage you with a $5 offer off a bowl, just see if we can get you in a 3rd time that month. Then over a 3-month period, we're going to send you that coupon. If you don't activate that coupon, we're going to be able to see that. We're going to send you another one just to remind you. And then over a 3-month period, we want to see if that ticks you up from 2 times a week to 3 times a week. And if that happens, we've been successful, tick, that works, let's keep that program going, let's get our customers coming in. Not are you spending more money, you're actually getting more redemptions, and you're engaging with our brand more. So really targeted programs utilising those 3 tools is really important. And you can see the process at the moment. Redcat captures the data. Redcat creates the coupons and offers and pushes it back to your members. We bring the data into the BI tool. We can push the activations out of the BI tool back into Redcat to go, we know these are the people we need to send coupons to. Alternatively, we can send the activation into impact data. Impact data can then activate the customers using coupons. Redcat also sends the data directly impact data, which you can use it in its own, whatever impact data can do in its own microcosm around the customers that we're not engaging is really important for us. So the combination of those 3 gives us a really good tool. And when you look at each of the 3 independently, Redcat provides the tech, captures the actions, the data. You're capturing everything. The fact that you're capturing delivery, the fact that you're capturing all that data is really key to understand their business model. And it provides the activations, the ability to provide those coupons and to connect those coupons in with impact data and be able to send them out. That's really powerful, especially for a small business, that it doesn't have the ability to invest in bigger systems that can do that work. It's really key. Impact data, it captures the actions as well. It has its own analytics tool, it has its own thing that captures a lot of great information, sends out a lot of great stuff, but it's probably more the ongoing, customer who hasn't returned type stuff, and we utilise that as much as we can. It provides the tech, and then the tech for us to be able to develop and send our own emails, our own activations, our own look and feel in what we want to send out to a customer, to understand how many of them opened it, how many people it's still important. So that's getting onto that part of the program. And then the focused insight and automation, so the 2.5 is still important. And then the BI tool obviously captures the actions, sales, product actions, full member journey, as I said, really important. The insights, the customer journey, the categorisation, the targeting, the measures, and the results of what we're doing. So it's really important if you are activating, how many membership programs have potentially people activated? And it's really hard to know whether that's been successful or not. When you're doing implementing a loyalty type program, it's very hard to go, did that work? How do we know? Our customer numbers went up. Oh, that's good. We've got more customers on membership. That's really important. And that is a good measure. But is that it? Did they spend more money? Did they come in more often? All the sort of things you really want to know. That if you're going to be investing money in systems and putting in programs and processes to make this stuff work, you want to know you want to know what's working and what's not, so that you're not wasting money in the future on that as well. And the ability for the BI to provide data, impact data and Redcat for bespoke activations, because bespoke activations and the ability to do that with customers is really key. Yeah, so I just wanted to take you through that journey. That's the way it looks for a 20-store business, and I specialise in. I always say I specialise in that 10 to 50 store chain, because that's the time when businesses that I've worked in the revenue's getting better, you're opening more stores, but you're not really spending much on your overheads or your support office yet, because you still can't afford it. So I can't afford to have a full-time loyalty person in business. I can't afford to have a full-time analyst in our business. Let alone, I've got a couple of bookkeepers. I can't even afford a CFO yet. That's where these businesses really go. To go from the 10 to 50 store up to the 100. Once you get above 50 stores, you start having a bit of money. You start investing in support office. So it's really important to have tools and systems and processes that can really achieve what you need to achieve for loyalty membership.
Hi guys, so I'm Chris Brookston at Tyro. I'm the product enablers at Tyro. I sit in the product solutions team at Tyro. The team specifically looks after large enterprise clients and co-create, innovate, and find easier solutions to complex problems. Prior to Tyro, I was at Mascot as part of the digital apps team with a globally recognized Spanish innovation labs that lead roles in the financial services and local bodies. And here to talk about Tyro's matching ability. So I think what I would ask you all to rewind back is think about decades ago, what was loyalty? Loyalty used to be like a physical card that someone gave it to you, then you walk into the store and give it to us. The next version of that became this loyalty card came with a magnetic strip, so you can scan that card and you can swipe that thing. The next bit of that came to we have an app. So now you can actually scan your barcode, so right now where it's at, right? So if you go to Flybuys from Coles, you have that app, you go to Coles store, you do the purchases, and at the end you set that barcode on the Coles Flybuys app. The next version of that is card linked loyalty. So that's the next iteration of loyalty in our opinion. What does that mean? So we're eliminating that step from that process where a user has to worry about scanning a push card. So think about a world that you sign up to something, you walk into a store, you do your normal payment, but you don't have to worry about whipping out your app or the card where you can push the card. You actually scan and recognize the self-evidence form. You don't have to do that. On your card, it's already paying with your credit card. The loyalty work, the crunching of the database, once the order that's happening in the background, should be the worry of the merchant or provider. So you don't have to spend how powerful is that? That's what you So what does that look like? So Tyro has, as many people have, Tyro has card matching API. What it does is, if you look at a customer's journey, customer registers, provides consent, track spending, and adds card apply. So this is a normal process. Whenever you're trying to register some kind of an account, website, customer profile, all you have to do on top of that is add your preferred card apply. Android consent of that. Yes, I'm okay for my track, for my spending and track by the same. That's all. Now next time that customer pays you the same card at any of the stores, online or in store, using any of the available payment methods, Tyro will absorb that spending event and notify the right partner, the merchant or the loyalty provider, in this case Redcat, and the loyalty provider to just work in the background. So from a customer standpoint, it's very seamless. They don't really have to worry about loyalty. Yep. That's the beauty of this. So that's the customer journey of how it would work. Now, what does it mean for business? So, I think we have a lot of data coming in from Redcat's boss system, where you had to see actually what that was bought, what itemized value about, and we separate things. And then impact data provides right communication channels to actually reach that customer to actually enforce revisit. Okay. Now, what Tyro is doing, we kind of augmenting the system by injecting very fine-tuned payment data. So when we do real-time notification to person Redcat, what this person means and send you the time, that's really valuable. That type of data will unlock all those scenarios that you still draw. So to just group those things for categories, which would be like transactional insights are available based on all the data. Campaign effectiveness, so if you run certain campaign, when that customer spending, what time they went to the store, how often they went, what card they used, all that information is quite valuable. Payment and engagement insights, so what venue did they go to, did other venue perform better than the store for this venue? Obviously customer tiering, which is quite common, is available as well. And lastly, all the information can unlock customer patterns, like how are they actually behaving, how are they interacting with your brand. All this information can be really valuable when you're creating, I guess, that loyalty with the whole system. So quite powerful from the business standpoint. You get a huge heap of data that you have available to make more and more friendly solutions. Now you can create powerful loyalty reward system. You can actually just make more informed decisions about what stores are performing, what's working, what's not working, and so. But one case study on who's actually currently using this API, so ADC is currently using this API for years. They have an app called Pass, so you can jump into this app, create a profile, add your card profile, and now as long as you're using the same card in store or via this app, we are notifying ADC of that, and then ADC does all the work in the background with the partner and provide very specific personalized reports to the station. So I think what it really powers, it drives convenience. So first of all, a user doesn't have to worry about loyalty anymore. At the same time, you're not missing out on an event. For example, how often does that happen that you go to Kohl's? It's happened to me quite a lot. I go to Kohl's, I buy a bunch of things, they ask me, scan your fly-by card. I'm in a rush, I don't do it. Or I just don't have the time, I can't be bothered. So you're missing out on that event. You're missing out on that key piece of information. But now you won't miss that. You'll have a full set of data available to customers later on. So that's what card matching API from Tyro makes it happen. And I think it would make it happen in Redcat system as well. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Q&A, Lauren?